All right, in 3.3a, we're going to look at dividing polynomials using long and synthetic division. I'm hoping this is a review for you that you've seen this in Algebra 2. So first we're going to start with long division. So here's my equation, here's what I'm dividing by. This goes on the outside, so I'm going to rewrite this. All right, so we're going to keep it together, x minus 2. So what you're going to do is look at your first term under the division bar, and your first term here. And you're going to think, what do I need to multiply x by to get 6x cubed? Well, I got to multiply it by 6, and I got to multiply it by an x squared. So now you're going to use distributive property and distribute that 6x squared to everything over here on the outside. So it's going to give me 6x cubed. 6x squared times negative 2 will give me negative 12x squared. Now, here's a key point right here. Once you've done that, you're going to change the signs. You want this first term to go to 0. So I need to make that negative, which makes this positive. All right? And then this goes to 0, which I know I did it right if it turns to 0. And now I combine like terms. So negative 19x squared plus 12x squared gives me a negative 7x squared plus 16x. All right, so from here we're going to repeat the same steps. Now we have a 7x squared, and we need to make this outside x a negative 7x squared. So I multiply it by a negative 7 and an x. So negative 7x times the x gives me negative 7x squared. Negative 7x times negative 2 gives me positive 14x. Again, key step right here is you have to change the sign. This becomes positive, and this one becomes negative. So positive and negative 7x squared, that turns to 0. So now I have positive 16x minus 14x gives me a positive 2x minus 4. So again, I want to figure out, okay, what do I need to multiply the outside x by to get this one, 2x? Well, it's just a 2. So when I distribute the 2, I get 2x minus 4. When I change my signs, it becomes negative, that becomes positive, and I have 0 remainder. So what do I get when I divide? I get 6x squared minus 7x plus 2. That's my answer. So let's try it again here. Okay, the first polynomial you get goes underneath the division bar. And then we go from there. We need to make this outside x look up the inside. So what I need to multiply by to get x squared? Just an x. So I distribute. So I have x squared plus 1x. Change my signs. This becomes negative, and this one becomes negative. So now I have 0x squared. 3 minus 1 gives me 2x plus 5. Okay. And then what I need to multiply x by to get 2x? Just a 2. Distribute the 2. I get 2x plus 2. Change my signs. And then I will get, that goes to 0, and this leaves me with a 3. Well, there's nothing I can multiply x by to get 3. So this is a remainder. All right, so the way you write your answer then is x plus 2. The 3 is positive, so we'll say plus, and then you write it as a fraction, 3 over whatever your divisor was, x plus 1. And that's how you write your answer when it has a remainder. Okay? So let's try another one. Now, before we dive into this, I want you to notice that the polynomial is not written in exponent order. It has to be in exponent order under the division bar for this to work. So when I rewrite this, I'm going to put it the highest exponents first. So I'm going to put 10x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5x minus 1. So notice it goes 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, that's what I want. And then I'm going to divide by what's on the second polynomial. So 2x squared plus 1. All right, so then we're going to walk through the same process as before. 2 times what gives me 10? Well, that's a 5. X squared times what gives me x cubed? That's x. So when I distribute the 5x, I get 10x cubed. And then 5x times 1 gives me 5x. Well, that goes way over here. And it's positive. So I'm going to put in a 0x squared term right here as a placeholder. All right? because they have to line up. Now, changing your signs, make sure you change your signs all the way through. This makes that negative, this doesn't matter, and this becomes negative here. All right, so combine like terms, that's 0. This becomes negative 2x squared. This is 0, and this becomes negative. Bring that negative 1 straight down, get negative 1. All right, so now look at here. What do I need to make that multiply positive 2x squared by to get negative 2x squared? Just a negative 1. So if I distribute that, I get negative 2x squared minus 1. Okay, change my signs. These become positive. Combine like terms, and I get a 0. So it's just 5x minus 1. All right, so catch the point that you have to keep placeholders in for exponents that are not represented. So carrying with that same idea, look at example 4. This first one goes under the division bar. So I have 3x cubed, but notice there's no x squared, there's no x. So I need to put in placeholders. 0x squared plus 0x minus 9 divided by x squared plus 1. And I want to be careful as I distribute and carry on with this that I line up my exponents correctly. So the first thing I need to multiply x squared by to get x cubed is just another x. So x squared times x gives me x cubed. 1 times x is just 1x. Okay? So notice that there's I need a 0x squared in there to keep that place. Then I need to go through and change my signs. This becomes negative, this becomes negative. Then I combine like terms, so my x cubed, goes away. X squareds are gone. Now I have a negative x minus 9. Now, I can't go backwards. I can't multiply x squared by something to get me an x. So this is all a remainder, and that's okay. So I'd write my answer as x. And since this is negative, I would say minus x minus 9 divided by whatever the divisor was, x squared plus 1. And sometimes you will have remainder. All right, so now we're going to do synthetic division. It's the same idea, but it's a major shortcut. All right. Now, synthetic division only works if the factor is in the form of x minus k, like x minus 3 or x plus 1. The idea is that this x value is linear. It's x to the first power. As long as it's x to the first power and it's 1x to the first power, then we are good to use synthetic division. All right, so let me show you what that means. Now, remember, this factor right here that I'm dividing by x plus 2, if I solve that for 0, x is negative 2, right? So that's what I'm dividing by, is the negative 2. And you put this little bar on it. It's kind of upside down division bar. Then you look at the polynomial that's first written to make sure it's in exponent order, and you're just going to rewrite the coefficients right as they are. So I put a 5, an 8, a negative 1, and a 6. All right, that's the setup. And then the way you work it is you bring that first coefficient straight down, and then you multiply. 5 times negative 2, negative 10. 8 minus 10 is negative 2. So negative 2 times negative 2 gives me positive 4. Negative 1 plus 4 is positive 3. 3 times negative 2, negative 6. And 6 minus 6 is 0. Okay? This is your remainder box over here. So as long as it's 0, that's perfectly divided. Now, you don't leave your answer like this. You're going to rewrite this as a polynomial. So 5 is your first coefficient. Now, the next thing is going to have an x on it. Now, what power goes with that? It's always 1 power less than what you started with. So if it was x cubed, it's now x squared minus 2x plus 3. And that's your answer. Okay? So let's try it on example 6. Same thing. I'm going to make sure they're in exponent order, and then I'm going to pull the coefficient straight down. So 6, 7, negative 1, positive 26. And I'm going to divide by, so think about this, x equals negative 3, that means x is really 3. So I'm dividing by positive 3. Bring the 6 down. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 plus 7 is 25. 25 times 3 is 75. 74. 74 times 3 is 222. Okay, and then I add these, and I get 248. Okay, so that's a remainder. This is the remainder. So I rewrite this back into an equation. So I put 6x squared plus 25x plus 74 plus, and then you rewrite this as a fraction, 248 over, and go back to your original divisor, x minus 3. Okay, that would be my answer. Obviously that didn't divide evenly, but the first one we did, example 5, did divide evenly. All right, let's try a couple more. All right, so remember exponent order, and you need to put in placeholders if it jumps. Okay, so for instance, this goes from x to the third power to no x's at all. So I need a placeholder for x squared and a placeholder for x. So when I write my framework out, I'm going to go 1 for x cubed, 0 for x squared, 0 for x, and 12 is my constant. And I'm dividing by, so if I solve that, I get -8. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Bring the 1 straight down. 1 times -8 is -8. 0 times -8 is -8. -8 times -8 is positive 64. Add them, I get 64. 64 times -8 is -512. So this one comes out with it divides evenly. So again, to rewrite this, I start with my coefficient and I put the power of x that is just 1 less than where I started. If it was x cubed, this is x squared. And then I go step it down, x squared, x to the first, and then a constant. There's my answer. Feel free to pause the video and try example 8 on your own. And then you can always come back and watch me do it if you want. Just build your confidence. All right, so we're going to work this. Notice I need an x squared term, so I need a placeholder for 0x squared. So when I write my coefficients, I'm going to go 5, 0, 6, 8. And I'm going to divide by -2. All right, so 5 times -2 is -10. -10 times -2 is 20. 20 plus 6 is 26. Times -2 is -52. -52 plus 8 gives me -44. Okay, so if I write my answer, it's going to be 5x squared minus 10x plus 26 minus 44 over what I divided by originally, x plus 2. All right? So hopefully this gives you some ideas of how to divide by long division and synthetic. We'll talk about this in class, but you have these examples to refer to as well.